What's up guys, Ryan here from Mudgunner, and today we have a pretty fun topic to talk about. We are talking about rifle budgets. What would you get, or what would I recommend if you had a $5,000 budget? Now I know what you're gonna say, Ryan, why so much money? Well, this was a viewer requested video. One of you guys asked, what would you recommend for 5 grand? And I don't think it's completely out of the realm of, reason for someone to spend $5,000 on a rifle setup. There are people that spend $10,000 plus on rifle setups. So yeah, just bear that in mind. If you don't have that kind of money to spend on a gun, no worries. You can definitely get a good gun for a lot less. This is just, again, a viewer requested video, and I am someone that likes higher end rifle builds. I haven't necessarily dropped 5 grand on just one AR setup, but over time I've spent a lot of money building some of them up. And I just want to say, I don't necessarily recommend buying new. Now, if that's what you want to do, I know there are some people that solely buy new stuff, and people like me that buy used stuff, I'm happy that they do, because I don't want to buy a new Elcan, but people that buy new Elcans and sell them, you can get them at good deals. So I highly recommend buying used stuff. You can definitely buy like super high-end used stuff for maybe 50 to 60% of what they go for new. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Some of the prices I'm going to be talking about are both new and used pricing. But again, I like talking this type of stuff, but don't worry if this is not something that necessarily relates to you. This is still information that might give you guys some use. So let's get into it. Again, I don't necessarily recommend buying everything brand new. It's kind of like buying a car or a house, right? You are going to pay a premium buying a brand new car or a brand new house. So with that, most of us buy used, and I say, why not the same thing with guns? And speaking of used cars, I recently, my engine kind of crapped the bed this week on my car. We're trying to get it fixed. My brother's a mechanic, but it looks like it might be time for a new vehicle for me, and I'd like to get an off-road vehicle. I've kind of been fixated on a Toyota 4Runner because I need a vehicle that's going to last me the next 10 years and get me to the desert so I can record some shooting videos for you guys. So if you guys are looking to support the channel, I have a great deal that I can offer you guys. I sell these patches on my website, atroxco.com. This is my patch wrap patch. I also am wearing the shirt. I got a couple shirts on there, but yeah, it's got the logo on the back. But yeah, if you guys are looking to support the channel and help me fund a new 4Runner or a used 4Runner, because I don't want to buy new, please go check out this patch. It is $10 on my website. Shipping comes out to like 4 and change, so just under 15 bucks after shipping. But to top it off and make it a good deal for you guys, I'm going to throw in a Patch Rat sticker and a Brass Goblin sticker. So I want to make it worth your guys' while, and you'll get all of those for 10 bucks plus the shipping. If you're here in Arizona, it's also going to charge you tax, but it's like less than $1. So for 15 bucks, you'll basically get all those. If you're looking to support the channel, help me fund a 4Runner. Now I know you're also thinking, well, Ryan, you could sell your guns. I could sell my guns, but like I said, you get deals buying used stuff, so I wouldn't get full value of those. And then I'd like to keep the guns because then I get to keep recording videos for you guys. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. I'm doing that deal through June. So if you buy a patch through June, I'll send you 2 stickers. If you buy 2 patches, I'll give you 2 other stickers that are not these 2. And then if you buy one of my shirts, I will give you one of my Mudgunner patches. And yeah, please support the channel and help me fund a new 4Runner, a new used 4Runner. All right, so we'll kind of get into it. I wrote down some notes just on a few things, right? Because this topic can definitely go all over the place. I want to point out, if you have 5 grand to spend, and this was requested at, this would be their first gun. So that's a pretty big budget for a first gun. Now, if you don't have this other stuff I'm going to talk about, I highly recommend not spending 5 grand on just a rifle. That's a lot of money. Again, you can get a really nice rifle for less than 2. So things that you should have that before you spend 5 grand on a rifle, or in that total price, boots and pants. So like tactical pants or boots that you might be wearing for whatever. Basically, think of yourself as like a G.I. Joe. Have your full kit. So boots, pants, a battle belt setup, a handgun for the belt setup, plus all the accessories for the belt, a chest rig or a plate carrier, and plates. So I think for 5 grand, it is completely reasonable to get everything besides like a night vision helmet setup for 5 grand or less and still have good stuff. So I just want to put that out there that I highly recommend having all that. Just think of yourself as a G.I. Joe. Besides your head, I mean, minus eyes and ears, you should have that too. What would you fully kit out your entire body with if you had 5 grand to spend? So I've done videos on most of that other stuff too. So I recommend having all that in that budget as well. And then you also got to think mags and ammo. It's cool to have a very expensive gun setup, but it's not cool if you have no mags or ammo to shoot with it. So just things to think about. I'm going to talk about some higher end brands, and there are so many AR brands. We're going to mainly be talking ARs, but there are so many AR brands. These are just a few of the good ones. So you got Daniel Defense, BCM, Knights Armament, LMT, LWRC, Sons of Liberty Gunworks, Geisley, LaRue, HK, I mean, those are just some of the few. We're going to focus on just a few, less than that in this video, because it's kind of like if it's your first gun or if it's your first car, if you get too many options thrown at you, it's hard to make a good decision because you feel like there's just too much being thrown at you. So I'm going to narrow it down to just a few. If you, let's say in that $5,000 budget, I would highly recommend, or at least for me, I would want a short barrel rifle suppressed. So, you know, the suppressor costs money, short barrel rifle costs money. If you're not in a position to have a NFA item, so short barrel rifle or suppressor, or let's say you're not 21, because you have to be 21 to own a short barrel rifle and suppressor. Honestly, the two highest end ones on that list that are kind of like, well, they definitely have the name backing them, would be HK and Knights Armament. So Knights Armament right now, Knights Armament's one of the very few AR companies that you're going to pay an absolute premium to own it. Not because it's necessarily worth the absolute premium, but because they're a really well-known gun. A lot of the military's been using them for years, and Secret Service, stuff like that. But there's also such a short supply of them that people can charge almost double what they're worth. Now, I'm not saying they're not worth it, but I'm saying just to get a Knights Armament AR, like a complete AR, you're going to spend almost $3,000 to $4,000 when brand new, when they were readily available, they were under $3,000. So just pointing that out there, you can get basically a Knights Armament AR and suppressor for maybe around $5,000 if you're lucky. But I don't necessarily recommend spending all that money just to pay a premium for that. But Knights Armament comes with their flip-up sights, comes with their two-stage trigger, so that gun out of the box is ready to go minus whatever optic. But I mean, $5,000 doesn't even get you the gun, suppressor, optic, light, all that. So that's one option. Another option that I think is a little bit, not better, but just as good, would be HK. Now, HK is also known as a very high-end gun, but the difference between HK and Knights Armament is you can actually go and buy an HK any day of the week. They are readily available. Our store had 3 of them this week. We have a used one, we have a new one, and then we have a new one that I built up into basically mine. So I built up a package for our store. That one just sold though, but we could build up more. But basically, if you had a fully decked out HK MR556, you could spend about $5,000. It'd be very easy to do because it's an expensive gun. The base model gun is about $300 to $3,200. You can find them cheaper. You can find them significantly cheaper if you buy used. But yeah, it's an expensive AR, and it's not even just a standard AR. It takes proprietary parts because it's piston driven. If you don't know the difference between piston and direct impingement, I would look that up. But basically, a piston driven gun is going to run cleaner, should be able to run longer, because your gases are pushing a rod instead of blowing out the gas tube to cycle your gun. That's the cheap, fast way to describe that. But yeah, HK is a piston rifle, and HK is a world-renowned company. The military just chose the MR556 or the 416 as their new infantry rifle. It's called the, it's like the IAR 27, M27. They're doing M27 like clone builds of them for the civilian side right now. They're MR27s. But yeah, a civilian 416 or M27 would be the MR556. So this is an MR556 here. Again, the base gun's about $3,200. You can find them less than that, but I would say if you have that kind of money and you don't want to do a short barrel rifle suppressed, it's going to cost you definitely over $4,000 to fully build one up. And we're just going off of new pricing. So you asked what I would recommend. If you want to just buy a super high-end gun and be done with it, the HK track record-wise, they're there. I mean, again, the military's been using them forever. SEALs use like the HK416, which is the 10-inch version. Parts, very expensive. Uppers, very expensive. Just to buy a factory 10-inch upper, you're going to spend like $4,000 for just the upper. I don't want to chop my barrel, but at some point I would like a 416 build. So yeah, $3,000, let's say $3,000 on the gun. You buy a nice optic. I would say I like the aim points. So optic wise, aim point's going to be about $1,000 depending on how you do it. This is a T2 on a LaRue mount with a Knights Armament battery cap. It's going to cost over $1,000 brand new to do all that. Again, I don't buy anything new, so I am not into this for $5,000, but if you were to do this all brand new, it'd probably be about $5,000. So I like aim point red dots. They're built to last. Light wise, I would say your 3 main lights that I like would be Surefire, Mod Light, or Cloud Defensive. I am definitely leaning more Cloud Defensive or Mod Light over Surefire, because anytime you do Surefire pressure pads on Surefires, I have so many of them that just, they flicker, they don't hold the battery well. The Mod Lights and Cloud Defensive lights hold battery charges very well, and I don't have any issues with flickering. Mod Light's going to be more Surefire compatible, so this is a Surefire pressure pad on a Mod Light. If you do cloud defensive light setups, they're all proprietary, but you'll notice I have quite a few cloud defensives here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a Mod Light right here. I do have a Surefire on the Scar right here, but yeah, I would say my go-to lights would be cloud defensive or Mod Light, and I would buy like a whole kit. So pressure pad, light, whatever you need to mount it. That's going to be about $400 just right there, depending on which model you get. But yeah, so I have this one pushed out. So in that $5,000 budget, you need to account for an optic. I would say iron sights should be, you know, a thing. Like, you don't necessarily need them if you're buying all the highest end stuff, but I still like having iron sights. I like knowing how to use them. So in that budget, think optic, iron sights, light, and sling. And then if you have that budget and you're going to be upgrading some of the ARs, trigger, stuff like that. But the nice thing, again, about that Knights Armament or the HK, they already come with 2-stage triggers. They already come with ambi safety selectors for the most part. They already come with extended charging handles. So this gun is 100% stock other than what I added to it. Now the modern ones you're going to buy are going to come with a longer M-LOK rail. I like the quad rail, but this is their older model. The M-LOK rail is more practical because it extends out further, so you don't have to do this light bar setup to push it out. You'll be able to get your accessories a little bit further. So yeah, HK is going to be a very good, like, one and done kind of gun. And again, they're proven. People's complaints with the HK is going to be that they're heavy. But again, the military have been using it for years, for decades. And you figure those are like 18 to 20-year-old kids rocking an HK. So the weight doesn't bother me. I'm perfectly fine with it. And most of our military is perfectly fine with it. So don't let the weight bother you too much with that. Again, parts are just going to be expensive and proprietary. So this does not take any standard AR components, which kind of sucks. But yeah, and I can't break every gun down completely because that would be way too long of a video. But again, if you don't have the means to do a short barrel rifle or a suppressor, an HK build is going to be right there. Now, before I get into the other ones, I'm going to talk about the optics I like to run. And these optics are going to vary in price. So an Aimpoint T2 setup might be like $9 to $1,000 depending on what mount you get. A lot of people don't like the factory mount, but it works perfectly fine. So a brand new T2 is like just under $1,000. If you did a magnifier for a T2, a factory one, it's about $800. That's what I'm trying to do on this build. This is going to be my Terminalist build. So if you watch the show Terminalist with Chris Pratt, he uses a BCM, and I've been trying to part this one together, buying only used, and it's a process. I have basically everything. I have to buy the muzzle device new, and then I have to buy the wrap new, unless someone sells this one. But I am holding out for a used Aimpoint magnifier because brand new they're $800. Brand new this is $1,000. So you figure that's almost $2,000 in optics right there. But again, I'm trying to source everything used, and the magnifier is the last thing I need. But if you were to do an Aimpoint and a magnifier brand new, it's about $2,000 for just that. If you did the BCM, again, it's like just under $2,000 for the gun plus all the upgrades. So yeah, optics wise, Aimpoint with a magnifier is going to be about $2,000. Most of the higher end Aimpoints are all about $1,000. You have the Comp M4s, the Comp M5s, the T2, T1. Just assume you'll spend $7,000 to $1,000 brand new. You can find them used for maybe $5,000 to $7,000. They're definitely out there. And yeah, just search around. There's Gun Broker, there's Tac Swap, there's local Facebook groups, gun stores. There are definitely ways to get these optics used. I've just been holding out for that magnifier because we have one new in our store right now for $800. I just don't want to pay $800. Other option, EOTechs. I love EOTechs. I have this one here. So a brand new EOTech with the quick detach levers, about $600 or $700. If you do the EOTech and magnifier, it's about $1,200 brand new. Again, you can find them used, and EOTechs are widely renowned. You have ACOGs, which is Trijicon. Those are about $1,200 to $1,300 brand new. They're also a world-renowned optic. Military's been using them forever. I'm not a fan of the ACOG by itself. I think there's some limitations to it, but again, it's a proven optic. Other ones, Elcan. Elcans are pretty well known. You don't see them too much civilian-wise because they're so expensive brand new. They're like $2,200 brand new. When you find them used, they're about, I mean, some people still try to get like $18,000 to $2,000 for them. They're not worth it used, to be honest. You can find them used for anywhere from like $1,300 to $1,600. So, but yeah, an Elcan is basically a red dot and an ACOG combined because it has a red dot that you can run on it, and then it also is a 1 to 4 power or a 1.5 to 6 power, depending on what you get. So with 1 power and the red dot on, it literally works like a red dot, and then you can put it on 4 power, and then it works like an ACOG. But again, this used you should be able to find one for about 1,500 bucks. I don't have as much experience on the Elcan, but so far I have been liking it. The Scar is one of my favorite guns ever, and I put an Elcan on there a few months ago. So we've been rocking that. But prior to that, I was running the EOTech. So yeah, that covers optics. We have Aimpoint, EOTech, the Trijicon ACOG, and some of the red dots are good too for like half the price, like 500 to 800 bucks. And then the Elcan, it's one that I'm newer to, but it's a pretty well-known optic. And then again, lights, you have Cloud Defensive, Modlite, Surefire. I am leaning towards Modlite or Cloud Defensive right now. And if you buy a whole light kit, it's about 400 bucks. So you said, what would I recommend for a beginner? Well, I don't necessarily think you need an HK as a beginner. Not saying you can't, it's a great rifle, I like it, but I would say you should probably stick towards something that has a little bit more parts availability. You should do something that you're kind of basically choosing like the bandwagon thing, but I am like a big fan of the Mark 18. It's one of my favorite guns. It's one of everyone's favorite guns. Like, I don't think you'll ever show up and people will disrespect a Mark 18. They're just iconic. They are a little bit heavy for an AR, but again, there's 18-year-old kids using these, so in our military, so I don't think weight's a big issue. But a Mark 18, I just checked Gunbroker before I did this video. You can find the pistols for like 2 to 21 brand new. You can find the factory SBRs for 2,200 bucks or even 2,100 bucks. So let's say 2,200, let's say 25, because there's also a $200 tax stamp if you do an SBR. So 2,500 bucks gets you the gun. $1,000 gets you, oh well, if you buy a Surefire, which is what I'm going to recommend, basically 12 to 1,300 bucks gets you the can. So 25 plus 13, so that's 38 right off the bat. And then let's say you buy a $1,000 Aimpoint, so that's 48. But again, you shouldn't be buying this stuff all brand new. But that gets you right there on that. And then you buy a light. So you can hit $5 grand pretty fast. And I don't think people realize that if someone's buying brand new. Again, I don't buy anything brand new. But yeah, I think a Mark 18 is a pretty iconic gun. And this gun with a suppressor is the same length as a 16-inch AR. So this HK is 16 inches and this Mark 18 is 10 inches with the can. You see it's actually a little bit shorter because the HK stock is a little extended. But this makes it pretty well balanced. If you put a can on a 16-inch gun, they're pretty long. So I'm a fan of cans on like 10 to 13-inch barrels or 10 to 12.5-inch barrels. But yeah, Mark 18 is definitely an iconic gun. It's limited on its stopping power at distances, so there is that. But you got to think, if it's for a self-defense purpose, you're probably not using an AR for self-defense past 200 yards. If we're being invaded, one thing, but even then, I'd still like to have a short gun suppressed. So yeah, you could buy it used. In that budget, a can would be nice optics. So this is an Aimpoint Comp M4. These you could find used for about 500 bucks. So you could find optics for 500 bucks used, lights for 200 bucks used. So that'd be 7. It's hard to get a used suppressor. So just figure 1,200 bucks after tax stamp and everything. So you're 7 plus 12, 1,900. And then if you find a Mark 18 for about 1,500-ish, they might be a little bit more. Again, people will pay a premium for a Mark 18 just because it's iconic. So it'd be pretty easy to spend over $4 on a Mark 18. But yeah, I would do absolutely a sling, optic, light, and gun, and then I would start working on the can and everything else. But and then after, let's say you still have some remaining, I like triggers. Geissele is going to be my go-to trigger. Almost everything here has a Geissele trigger. This does not, but Geissele, and then the HK just has a nice trigger on its own. Geissele triggers are about 200 bucks. I like the Radian safety selectors, they're about 50 bucks. I like the Radian charging handles. They're about 80 to 100 bucks, depending on which one you get. But yeah, and then sights, whatever AR you get, my absolute go-to for sights is the Magpul M-Bus Pros. They're very easy, especially for beginners to use. They're about $180 for a set of steel sights. You can find them used for $150 or less. But yeah, I use the Magpul M-Bus Pros on almost everything. Yeah, so Daniel Defense is going to be probably one of my go-tos for a beginner. People love or hate Daniel Defense. I have about 7 of their rifles now, and they were my very first AR. So I'm very biased towards Daniel Defense, but I like changing some of the stuff. I like putting, again, Geissele triggers, Radian safety selectors. The new Daniel Defense charging handles are good. This one's the new one, or the factory Daniel Defense one. I like Daniel Defense furniture. I have a market, well, I have my other one that has their furniture on there, but I've kind of been changing them up. So either Bravo Company or B5, or this is a, what is it? A Voltor stock. So furniture-wise is kind of like after you get everything else done, but yeah, Daniel Defense would be one of my go-tos. And then another one would be BCM. I don't have as much time on this rifle, but BCM is also a very respectable brand. I mean, all the big YouTubers talk about BCM, and yeah, so far I've had a few range trips with this one and it's been great. But yeah, by the time I'm done with this, if I were to do it all brand new, it'd be over a $4,000 build. The base guns are about $1,800. They're a little bit harder to find right now. Daniel Defense, is well known as they are, they're still very easy to find. They pump out their guns pretty religiously, so I think that's pretty good that you can get them almost any day of the week. BCM is hit or miss. I don't know why their production's so limited, but even when you find them, they're not charged a premium like Knights Armament, or they shouldn't be at least. So big fan of BCM. But yeah, if you're looking for my honest opinion for a beginner, I would say BCM or Daniel Defense, and then just kind of deck them out with what I talked about. So optic, light, sling. This one is all factory. I'm going to keep it factory internals because that's for the clone build. But yeah, their triggers are nice. It's just a basic safety selector. I love Bravo Company furniture. But yeah, the other thing to think about is training classes. So let's say you have $5 grand to spend, but you are a beginner. I would definitely do some training classes, because you can definitely tell when someone doesn't know what they're doing, and it kind of like looks worse if you have a $5,000 gun, but you show up to a range match or whatever, and people with a $500 gun are like smoking you in every way. Not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but I think training is really going to be important, and you don't want to just show up like, it's like someone that drives a Lamborghini and can't go over 50 miles an hour, or crashes the first time they use it because they didn't know, they weren't trained on how to drive a car like that. So same with guns. I think training is definitely going to be important. I know Grand Thumb talks about it a lot, but yeah, knowing how to use it is one thing, and then actually owning it's another. So I think that covers most of the basis. Again, there are a lot of companies out there. My very first AR, because I bought my AR, I don't have it out here, but my first Daniel Defense, I ordered it when I was 18, picked it up when I was 19, and then from 19 to now, 28 years old, I have just been decking it out. And I probably have over $4 grand tied up into it as an SBR, suppressed. I've gone through a couple different EOTechs on there, so I've done a video on that one too. But yeah, you can definitely spend some money on it, but it doesn't have to be overnight. None of these guns are overnight, and again, I just mostly buy use. So I think that covers everything that I wrote down here. Sure, there's things I missed. Again, it's a big topic. You can talk about it forever, but yeah, and what I say is not law. This is just my personal opinion. I do like rifles. I've spent a lot of money on rifles, and I try to shoot as much as I can. I'm shooting every week to try to get you guys content. But yeah, I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, comment down below. If you guys have your own opinions of your favorite guns, comment down below. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a video where I kind of rate your builds. And yeah, I want to kind of turn that into a weekly video theme to just do rating of builds, because I think that's a good way to inspire people to build guns. I've built a lot of guns just based off of looking at other people's pictures and videos and stuff. So even though I do YouTube, I still watch other videos on how people set their stuff up, because it's all cool to watch. Even if we already have the gun, it's really cool to see how other people use it. And yeah, we can all learn from everyone. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for my next video.